Happy holidays from 4 Mile Circus. It's getting a little bit cold here in New York, so our heat kicked on a few times during recording, so you may notice some variation in audio quality as the episode progresses. Also, spoiler warning, we do talk about The Last Jedi for about half an hour during the show, starting right around 8 minutes, 32 seconds, and ending right about 43:50. We will call out the start and end of that conversation in the show in case you want to avoid that. Thank you, and now on with the show.
I'll try not to breathe my sick breath. Sean said I don't sound bad. I sound bad in my head because I have all this pressure in my ears.
I mean, you don't sound any worse than normal.
Yay! I mean, I know I normally sound very bad, but I don't sound like disgustingly sick right now.
Right, on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, it's terrible to be sick on Christmas Day. Christmas Eve? Which day is it?
You wait for Santa. This is why Santa doesn't come to you, Nicole, because you don't even know when Santa comes. Santa comes on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
At 11:45 p.m. and 18 seconds exactly.
Mm-hmm.
To everyone's home at the same time.
So that's why we're together late at night on December 24th, which it totally is today.
Yeah, it's December 24th, Christmas Eve.
It's not December 17th, the International Day to End Violence Against Sex Workers.
No, that we already had that.
We already had that. Did we do it? That. Did we end the violence?
Did we last year?
No.
Well, maybe next year.
Maybe next year. I'll ask. Well, maybe that's what Santa's going to bring us.
I feel like Santa isn't doing that. That's too big for Santa.
You don't, but he can fit infinite things into that sack because he's bringing presents for all of the Christian or not Christian, but not, any of those deviant religions like my family is, or he's got all those presents in that sack that also fits down chimneys.
Yeah,
so
justice doesn't fit in a sack.
Okay, interesting take.
Yeah, justice doesn't fit in a sack. It's bigger than a sack, Nicole.
Justice is bigger than a sack.
Justice is bigger than a sack.
But
smaller than a bread box.
Well, it is in this country, at least. Anyway, so this is the special Christmas episode of the 4 Mile Circus.
4 Mile Circus, a podcast by 4 Mile Circus. You gonna sneeze? You gonna cough all over me?
No,
I'm gonna disease me for Christmas.
I'm gonna just vomit all over our microphones.
Our microphone's owned by 4 Mile Circus, a full cycle media services company in Brooklyn, New York, which also does the 4 Mile Circus, this podcast.
You can rent our vomit covered microphones via Kit Split.
Well, not these ones. I need to put these ones on.
Yeah, you should. It's good kit.
Yeah.
Well, you can split on Kit Split with us.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Split
yeah, you can split your kit.
It's kind of right there in the name.
It sounds sort of dirty.
It does. Almost as dirty as the justice being bigger than a sack thing. But,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway, so we're here waiting for Santa, and we thought we'd record a podcast for you to give you as a gift on Christmas tomorrow.
Not because this just happens to intersect with our usual podcast release schedule at all.
Not at all. It's a Christmas miracle.
It is a Christmas miracle. Easily the biggest Christmas miracle we're having all day December 17th. I mean, December 24th.
December 24th. Is that what do I hear up on the rooftop? Could those be the little clickety-clack of little reindeer hooves?
You don't even know the song. It's click, click, click. It's not clickety-clack. What are they? What is he cocking a shotgun or something like that?
I was just telling you what I hear, but it's clearly not. I think it might be some possums.
It's Murder Santa with his clickety-clack shotgun.
It might be Murder Santa with his clickety-clack shotgun. Murder Santa usually hits up other neighborhoods on December 24th, but he might be coming for us this year. It's been that kind of year in 2017.
Yeah.
It's a Murder Santa kind of year. But anyway.
Murder Santa.
So we're here. We've got our cookies and milk.
Yes.
Almond milk.
Oh, well, yeah.
And you drink almond milk, don't lie.
What Nicole doesn't know is we've replaced her almond milk with green milk.
Green milk?
Well, we're going to talk about it later, but...
Is that like space milk? Is that like blue milk from Star Wars? Another thing we're going to talk about later.
The green milk's in the new movie.
From the
teats.
Is that... Oh, was it green?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. That's disgusting. That was a part of the movie I found disgusting. Oh, I mean, that's not a spoiler. That's fine.
Yeah, somebody drank some stuff that's unappetizing in a Star Wars movie, because that never happens.
That never happened before. The movie just shook everything up. We've never had oddly colored space milk before.
Or food.
It's true. But we're going to get to that in a minute, because first we've got to listen for Santa. And we're going to talk about some other stuff today as our Christmas gift to you. We're going to
Did you ask Santa for anything?
I asked Santa to show up so we can have some words.
Ask not what Santa can do for you. Ask what you can do for Santa.
Santa can explain to me why he only brings toys to Christian kids and not even Christian kids, but whose families are Christian, because that's pretty fucked up.
Because he's Saint Nicholas.
But
maybe if everybody else made him a saint too, he could do it.
But the Catholics made him a saint.
Yeah, and then all the other Christians spun out of the Catholics, so except for the Greek Orthodox Church.
But if they want to get presents from Saint Nick, why did they leave the people who made him a saint? You see my logic? It's just bullshit. He's just bigoted. He's just a Christian supremacist. And it's not cute.
I mean, he is, yeah, probably, yeah.
So what else are we going to talk about while we wait for Santa?
I don't know, stuff we liked from this year.
We're gonna compare lists, not Christmas lists of favorite films and television.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah.
And eat some of these delicious cookies. You did such a great job on the gingerbread people, Sean.
Yeah.
Good
gingerbread
job.
and bacon cookies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vegan bacon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vegan green space milk.
Bacon. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, should we talk? What should we talk about?
Oh yeah, the green space milk wouldn't be vegan, would it?
No.
No. Okay.
I
just don't think of sci-fi things as being vegan or not, but that wouldn't be vegan. Okay.
Probably not. I mean,
well, is cow milk vegan?
No.
Well, then green space milk can't be vegan either.
Well, but was that an animal it came from? That's my question.
Yeah.
Or was it some sort of plant?
Like a sentient plant?
Yes.
Okay, but then where are we drawing the line there?
This raises a really important question.
This is where
I don't know.
Yeah,
that's why I liked the new Star Wars movie, Sean,
because it raised vegan questions.
Because it raised questions. Because it made me question things, made me question assumptions. Should we talk about it? Do you
want to just jump straight into it?
Yeah, I mean, listeners, Sean and I have both seen The Last Jedi. Sean saw it not this morning at all, but a week ago.
On the morning of December 17th as opposed to the morning of December 24th.
Exactly. And I saw it on the evening of December 14th.
Yeah. So it's entirely possible. I'm just going to flag it now. It's entirely possible I'll spoil it somehow. So probably skip ahead to a couple minutes. I don't know. We'll flag it somehow.
We'll tell you. We'll do a drop, or at least put in the show notes telling you where to skip to.
Please skip ahead to
4350.
Okay, so now that you've skipped ahead, now that you haven't skipped ahead,
we're gonna spoil some shit because we can't talk about this movie very well, I don't think, without talking about some stuff that happened in it that you might not want to know if you haven't watched it yet. So last call, if you haven't seen the movie and you care about spoilers.
If you don't want to know about Leia putting that pillow over the child's face, that was dark. It was 20 minutes of watching the kids struggle. Well, Leia just held the pillow there. It was disturbing.
Sean, I think maybe you went into the wrong theater.
I think I went into the right theater.
Anyway, what did you think of The Last Jedi, Sean Mangan?
I thought it was a good movie. I thought it had one of the things for me, which is important, is story structure and having a story as opposed to being a cookie cutter action movie thing. It has to have progression that feels natural, and it's and now here's where we're going, and now here's where we're going, and they have to have goals and activities that aren't just about furthering some plot, but are about okay, there's a thing that's happening and we have to do this thing because of that thing.
Right.
I thought it did that very well.
There's another Death Star and we've got to blow it up.
No. Thank God there wasn't another Death Star.
Because how do we know we're watching a Star Wars movie if the entire goal isn't to blow up a Death Star or some kind of Death Star analog?
Oh my God, that's what we're gonna get in the next movie.
No, I'm really hoping we're not.
No, it's gonna be Star Killer 2, and it's gonna be the size of like 3 planets, and it's gonna somehow suck up the energy from 4 suns, even though you know what, I know the Star Wars movies aren't like known for their physics, but one of the things that they were always really good at was like not being so completely blatantly fuck physics.
Really?
Yeah, there was things like there was always
like the
time.
sound of those spaceships.
No, I'm not talking about like those, which is like cinematic detail that you kind of need. But what I'm talking about is like there's distance between everything in Star Wars. Like it's not like there's like it takes time to get places.
Yeah, they came up with light speed in part to solve a lot of problems that.
Yeah. So but it takes time, and like the Death Star had to move places in order to blow up a planet, and it took time to do everything. And then you watch Force Awakens, and their planet-sized base, which okay, fine, you build a base into the planet, fine, that makes sense. But it sucks up like the stuff from the sun and then shoots it like thousands of light years away, and people can watch it, and you can see planets blowing. We couldn't see Mars explode or Venus explode if we wanted to.
I hear what you're saying. This is not one of my problems with The Force Awakens, but Sean raises a important point, which is that we both feel that The Last Jedi is a superior film to The Force Awakens.
Because J.J. Abrams is trash.
And he's going to direct the next one, and
which is
neither
why
of
I'm
us
not really
is happy
thrilled
about that.
No.
Yeah, not happy about that at all. But very happy.
But it does keep him away from my Star Trek, so I'm okay with that.
Fine, you gloat about that, just like you would, you Star Trek people.
Well, he fucked my Star Trek with his Star Wars, so.
Anyway, let's talk about The Last Jedi and not what we didn't like about The Force Awakens or other works of J.J. Abrams, maybe. So I also like The Last Jedi a lot. I'm going to be honest. I wasn't sure how I felt about it for about the first half of it because The Force Awakens, you go, and part of what was so great about it when I saw it opening night is you're like, holy shit, I'm watching a Star Wars movie again. This feels so familiar in a way that only like flashes of the prequels ever did. And any of those flashes of the prequels, I was always so grateful because I'm like, oh, for a second here, I feel like I'm watching a Star Wars, but no, not really watching a Star Wars movie. I'm watching like the worst made for TV, but really expensive made for TV, like Star Wars special kind of thing, where like this has elements of Star Wars, but it doesn't quite have that Star Wars movie magic. And well, we're not here to talk about the sequels either and all the ways in which they are terrible, but The Force Awakens isn't that. And it's, I'm seeing these characters I love that were so formative for me. It's very comforting. It's very comfort foody. And it, rights a lot of the wrongs of the original Star Wars universe, like we were talking about before. Like, more than one woman is allowed to talk in The Force Awakens. There's, characters of color in The Force Awakens.
2 women talk in the original Star Wars movie.
I know. Everybody, I know. So,
I'm just kidding.
I know you're kidding, but it is true. More than 2 women get to talk, though, in The Force Awakens.
That's true.
And The Last Jedi. And for somebody like me, who these films were incredibly formative to me, to an embarrassing degree. Like, it's ridiculous how much these movies shaped me and my orientation towards film and storytelling and all sorts of things. I
agree. It's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, that's fine. We can all be embarrassed. But it always was a problem when I was a kid. It's hard being a little girl watching Star Wars and you're playing Star Wars with your sister, and it's like, she would be Princess Leia and I would be Princess Organa because we had to do that. I could have played a boy, but I didn't want to. And
you didn't want to be Chewie?
Chewie's male also. And when you're a kid, a lot of times because I'm not going to get into child development stuff and how gender identification, and especially if you're like a girl and you don't have a lot of like female role models and that, but that was a weird comment about Chewie.
What do you mean? You don't want to be Chewie?
Yes, I do want to be Chewie, but I didn't really then.
Why not? You didn't like Chewie?
I didn't want to be Chewie. I wanted to be one of like the glamorous, exciting people. I wasn't a furry as a child. I liked animals and all, but I'm
not sure I'm down with this anti-Wookiee.
Did you want to be Chewie?
This is probably why Santa is not visiting you. No, I have other role models, so I don't need to be Chewie.
Anyway, so Force Awakens righted a lot of wrongs. That was great. I'm getting a little far afield, but it rehashed the original movies and was super fan servicey and was like, pandering, and I love it anyway because I'm like, boy, it's nice to be pandered to in this way. So I enjoyed it, but like I recognize that it didn't, other than the points that I just brought up about ways that it, furthered the Star Wars universe, story-wise, it doesn't do much to further the Star Wars universe. And
it doesn't do much at all story-wise.
Yeah.
It's barely a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. Whereas this does a lot.
There's a ton of story.
Yeah.
I think some people might feel like it's overstuffed and long, but but Rian Johnson had to do so much story work that J.J. Abrams didn't do.
Yeah.
Because
he was busy just jerking off about
busy
hey, it's Millennium Falcon.
It's Millennium Falcon. Which is a good one. The thing about
the Millennium Falcon.
The Force Awakens, I like the beginning of the movie. I like introducing new characters. I like seeing Rey. I like a lot of the shots in there. But then as soon as we start getting more of the original people, it just becomes like, hey, look, it's Luke, it's Han and Chewie, and they're gonna do a thing, and
look, they're gonna say phrases that they've said before. Whereas this one, they do stuff with Leia and Luke, and I was so glad, including one of the fucking stupid things some people are mad about at this movie. Is that Leia uses the Force in this movie.
It's established that she's a Force sensitive.
Oh, I know.
Going back to Empire.
I'm well aware of this. I have been angrily texting friends about this all weekend.
These fake nerds not know that she has been established since Empire.
And fucking as I texted Che, friend of the show, I guess, last night, even if you were that unobservant, in fucking Return of the Jedi, if you need Luke Skywalker, a white man, to mansplain the fact that Leia has Force powers, he does that. He flat out explicitly says it to her in Return of the Jedi. About how, like, some people have strong powers with the Force. Like, my father had it, and I have it, and my sister has it. And, like, I get if, like, for some people, maybe the main thing you were focused on there is like, oh, snap, he just said she's his sister. But, like, I don't know, when I was a little kid, one of the important things to me is I'm like, oh, shit, Leia could be a Jedi if she wanted to be.
Also, Vader talks about it in Empire, isn't it? Yeah, where he's like, well, if it's not going to be you, maybe, your sister.
Yeah. Yes, multiple male characters, like, put the rubber stamp on Leia can use the Force.
But she doesn't need to because she doesn't have anything to prove.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. I like to see it as, she's doing her civic duty and she's kind of like staying more in a realm of service rather than being like, I'm going to go off somewhere and train to be like. And one of the things I like so much about Jedi, The Last Jedi, is that it problematizes a lot of the like Jedi mythology and Force mythology and a lot of the like special people, the chosen ones doing the special things stuff that's like one of the less compelling things.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the things that I don't particularly care for about Star Wars, and I don't really care. One of the reasons I'm not super into the saga movies, because I'm like, I don't give a shit about the Skywalker family. They can all die.
Exactly, and one of the important things about this movie is they took some very clear steps to try to break from that and be like, that's not what this story is about. This isn't about, like, special Skywalker blood and the special Skywalker lineage and, like, all their family drama. This is about, like, the people of this universe more broadly. And that's another, and so like there's a point in this movie, which you've probably seen it if you're listening to this right now, where like Leia almost dies and does a very dramatic shit with the Force to like reel herself back into a ship. And I get that like you have to suspend a lot of disbelief for somebody to think that somebody can do that, but also you're watching a Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been established that she can use the Force, and you've got these idiots who think they're like defending Star Wars canon, but really they're just raging misogynists, I guess, who are like, well, isn't that convenient that Leia can suddenly use the Force? I'm like, motherfucker, what franchise have you been watching for the past decades?
Well, they haven't been paying that much attention to it because, as I recall, up until the Disney purchase, all comics and books were canon, and in those, the follow-up to the original trilogy, because for a long time that's all there was, Leia not only was a Force user, she was eventually actually a full-on Jedi. This is in the books and the comics that I think are no longer canon because all the new movies contradict it. But up until the Disney buyout, they were by Lucas's own word, all of that was canon, and it was all very heavily like controlled for a very long time. It's not like Star Trek where they're just like license the fuck out of it and we don't give a shit what's in the comics or the books.
No, there were like Star Wars continuity people where that was their job.
Yeah.
To like look at that stuff and make sure that it all lined up. But like even if the new films contradicted, it's like, okay, so basically you wanted that element to change. You wanted Leia to not have Force powers.
It's because they're a bunch of fucking neckbeards living
in
their mommy's basement.
They are. And what was my other fucking point about that? So there's the Leia Force thing that people are mad about. Speaking of the Disney buyout, there's also the like, it's Disneyfied thing that people are mad at, which like they fucking, okay, when Snoke gets fucking lightsabered in half,
yeah,
and like his body falls apart, that was, I mean, it's bloodless. The film sticks with kind of Star Wars protocol of being fairly bloodless.
Yeah.
But within that, like that was pretty fucking brutal.
Yeah.
And there were other things they did also that I liked, like the way in The Last World with the salt, where there's all that red in that battle in the snow. I'm like, this is an amazing way of getting what looks like this blood-soaked battle tableau, but it's not actually blood. But can I just take a second to say that like the production design and like art design elements of this film are like, so I was so impressed with how it stayed so clearly within the Star Wars aesthetic, but expanded it and did some new things.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful film. Like The Force Awakens is like a, nice bowl of like hearty, comforting soup or whatever in terms of how it looks. But this is like,
I mean, it's more like marshmallow fluff.
Well, for you, for me, I'm going to say it's a nice, like, potato leek soup, kind of like, this is nice, Han and Chewie, but this is like, a more exciting meal. I'm not going to keep this food metaphor going because nobody cares, including me, but it looks fucking great. I don't get the Disney thing.
It's just people whining.
Porgs are great.
Yeah, and also way less used than every other cutesy thing in Star Wars.
Like, I know, they're just this little thing that's times. There.
Also, Chewie's about to eat one of them. And, like, that's the cutest moment. But Chewie, like, killed, like, 4 of them.
I've had a few conversations about this exact thing recently. Because it's like, yeah, because he gets guilted. But it's not like this cutesy moment about, like, oh, Chewie's going to eat a Porg and the Porgs are sad and Chewie feels bad about it. It's not that Chewie was about to kill a Porg. And the Porgs, like, give him those, like, Porg looks. And he's like, oh, okay, I'm not going to kill it. Like, he's already killed a bunch of them. They're dead. He can't undo that. He has to live with that guilt, which is why I guess he's like, all right, fine, you can set up ship on the Falcon and make the Falcon a Porg colony. I think that's great. And as I said before, I would absolutely watch that spin-off movie that's Chewie and the Porgs on the Falcon.
Yeah.
Having adventures. That's great.
Caravan of Courage 2, the Porg Adventure.
I like Ewoks. I don't, we talked about this.
Yeah.
Neither of us are anti-Ewok.
I'm all for Ewoks.
But I really like Porgs quite a bit more than Ewoks, in part because there's no kind of problematic, potentially racist, like these seem like some sort of analog to a primitive
Star Wars
people.
If it's not problematically racist?
Well, this is a great question that The Last Jedi raises, because The Last Jedi is a lot less racist than other Star Wars movies.
Which is really not hard.
No, it's not.
That's like, yeah.
I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fangirl, and I almost wrote my senior thesis in college about like racist representations in Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Because the first prequel had just come out, and I was like, oh boy.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of which, people who are saying Disney ruined Star Wars, do they know the name Jar Jar Binks?
They don't have a point. They just don't like girls because girls don't like them because they don't like girls.
Hey, they also don't like men of color. Let's be real. They're pretty mad that about the whitest dude new character is Oscar Isaac, who's not actually, you
Right.
know, if they were to, know anything about him.
Right.
So they're pretty mad about that. Speaking of Oscar Isaac, one thing that I was disappointed about in The Last Jedi, I have to say, is I'm a little concerned that in the next movie, they're going to set up this love triangle between Rey and Finn and Rose, and I'm not fucking here for it.
I don't know. I never really got. So I always watching Force Awakens, I get that he's into Rey, but I feel like she's got like a different thing going on,
She doesn't care.
and she doesn't care.
I agree.
And then finally with Rose, it's more of a mature thing because he grew up a stormtrooper or in that thing, so he's got no thing. What I think with the love triangle that I want to see is him and Rose and Captain Phasma, who was yet again underutilized in this movie, and is one of the things that I'm bothered by because I like Captain Phasma. I like the look of Captain Phasma.
I fucking love the look of Captain Phasma.
And Captain Phasma should be the Darth Vader of this series, which is I think one of the failings of in general what's going on. But hopefully is back next time, and is that for Ben.
You don't think she's dead?
I don't see a body. It's not dead. Same as the last movie. No body, no death.
We see a body.
No, she falls into the fire.
But we see her on the ground and her helmet's been cracked and we see her eye.
Yeah, and then she falls into the fire.
Okay, so you're arguing she wasn't dead. That's possible.
She could have fallen into anything else.
That's possible.
She was saved in my mind right now. She was saved by Benicio del Toro.
Okay, that works.
And they're off, and they're going to get revenge. Well, he's not going to get revenge. He doesn't care.
He's
I like
gonna have
Benicio del Toro.
I like him a lot too, and he's going to have some sort of he can play a Lando-y role. He doesn't necessarily have to follow the Lando trajectory of I'm going to join the good guys now. I loved that character because I loved that his logic, while I don't share it, makes sense.
Yeah.
And is how lots of people live their lives and is not any more unreasonable or selfish than how people mostly are encouraged to live. And there was a lot in this movie that I really liked, actually, in terms of the way they came at moral questions with a lot more nuance than light and dark, good and evil.
Yeah.
But also without being some sort of it's all part of the same thing, so it's all good or it's all fine. It forces people to make difficult choices where absolutes are less absolutely clear and so it's more related to real world stuff. And that I thought was great. But I didn't get to say my thing, which is that I want to see the love story, like a lot of people, between Poe and Finn, because the two of them have more chemistry together than anybody else other than Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford. When they're together, there's it may be that they're just really good friends in real life and that comes across, but it's electric when the two of them are together.
Yeah, and they're barely together though.
I know.
Poe is barely in the movies, honestly. I mean, he's in there, but he's he shows up and then he disappears. They don't seem to know what to do with him.
Well, he's off on his own a lot, and in this one he was largely playing a role that I think is actually really useful to have in the Star Wars universe of problematizing the cocky dude who does stuff his own way, who, look,
he was wrong.
He was wrong twice.
Yeah.
In major ways. He cost lives. He wasted a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a bold move to have Poe take up most of his time in the movie being wrong about shit. And then getting served by these older women in positions of authority.
Well, he's got to grow as a character.
Yeah, and I hope he does. I hope he grows into his romance with Finn.
Okay.
That's a thing I would like.
I'm just not. I just don't. I think most of it I don't care about romance in the movies. In these movies, I'm I don't need that.
Oh, look, I would be very happy to have no romance in the next movie.
Also, we barely had any in these two.
Yeah.
In fact, we've had none.
And I think that's great. I mean, and I say that as like the Han Leia relationship is one of my favorite aspects of the original trilogy. I find it about like, as far as romances in film go, like that's, you know, that's great for me. Love it. Would be very happy to not have romance in these. Like, and really hope they don't try to shoehorn it in. And because there was that shot at the end of this where we see Rey looking at Finn tending to Rose, who BT Dubs, very glad Rose didn't die. I thought she was going to die. And
Yeah,
I'm
me
like,
too.
that sucks that, like, good heroic Star Wars death, but it sucks that they introduced this character and I really like her and she got killed off. That sucks. And so that she's injured but alive, I thought was great. But there's that shot where Finn's tending to her and Rey's kind of looking. And that was the shot that I was like, oh shit, this is going to be about a love triangle next time around with J.J. Abrams.
Oh, J.J. Abrams will do that. It'll be like,
don't want it.
I mean, the next movie is just going to be a bad rehash of Jedi, which I'm like which sometimes it seems like I'm the only person who's like, no, that one's fine.
I love Jedi.
Yeah.
But
that's the first one I saw, so.
But this one wasn't a rehash of Empire. It did a lot. It served a similar purpose.
You can map some of the things to it, but it's not the same movie remotely.
No, and you know, it does, yeah, you can map some of the things, but it's different. It moves the story along. I'm so glad that they killed Snoke off rather than having it be like, and then in the next movie they've got to defeat Snoke.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of like, in this one, it's not like, oh, and then in the next movie you get to find out this, you get to see this. It's like, no, there was a whole story here, which you actually don't, which is one of the reasons why Empire was good, is because it's a whole story.
Yeah.
Like it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it's fine. And the original Star Wars also had that. Actually, all three of the original Star Wars movies had that because, well, at least the first one was made, and it's like, I don't think I'm going to get to make another movie. And then the second one was made, and that's how they made movies back then. And then the third one, it's like, well, shit, we've got more money to make Jedi, so let's do the next one. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
I just was teaching a screenwriting class, and I was start talking about Star Wars, and they're like, which one? I'm like, I'm old enough that
it's the first
Star
one.
Wars.
Yeah.
And they're like 4, and I'm like, yeah, Star Wars.
I mean, fine. Like, they're not wrong. But yeah, but we should probably wrap this up because we've been talking about it a long time, but I'm just trying to know what else do I want to hit on before we go about this wonderful movie that I want to see again. I might go take myself one day, like go to the Alamo and see it again. Because
the menu there's good for it. Although
not
I don't
for
think
me.
You can eat anything.
The stew might be vegan. There was like a kale butternut squash stew. I looked at the Instagram picture you posted of the menu. I can't eat the other stuff. The one thing that sucked, and one of the reasons it was hard for me to get into the movie for a bit, is some of us wanted to see Star Wars with longtime Star Wars compatriots of ours in our family who maybe have babies that make it difficult for them to go to the movies. And so maybe we saw Star Wars on opening night at the Sheepshead Bay Theater because that was the most convenient thing. And maybe that means, despite the fact that I got a beautiful metal tin, commemorative tin of popcorn that I'm very happy about, the popcorn inside was stale, and that's not great. And another thing that wasn't great is people were fucking talking through the movie. And I was like, this is why I go to the Alamo, because you can't, if you're at a theater where kind of the culture is shut up and one person is talking, you can tell them to shut up. But if there's a bunch of like pockets of people talking throughout the theater, you're not going to win that. So I just tried to ignore it, but it really takes me out of it when there's someone behind me just like commenting through the thing. But so I want to see it again under better circumstances. And I liked the movie a lot. I like it more the more I think about it, which is nice. It made me, Luke Skywalker was never my favorite character, although he's totally a badass he's a badass in Return of the Jedi though.
Oh, in Return, yeah.
That's when I start to like him. But in this one, I'm like, Luke's fucking awesome. Mm-hmm. Like, I love Luke Skywalker now.
And Luke has more of like an understandable emotional arc actually in the movie itself.
Mm-hmm.
I think in general, the movie has a better emotional arc than the last one for most characters, like where they come from. I mean, there's things that one of the things I liked about Force Awakens was the individual characters. I felt like it was very weak in terms of plot and in terms of story. I felt very much like, okay, this is like the beginning of a movie, but I just paid you to watch a whole movie, so please don't do. Well, it's J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams likes to set up a bunch of mysteries. He's a mystery box guy. He's like, here's a mystery box. What's in it? It's never satisfying what's in the mystery box. Thank God we had Ryan Johnson show up and go like, here's what's in the mystery box, guys. Here's a good like. Okay, so
now let's do some new stuff.
Here's the definite spoiler thing that like was the thing that I was specifically avoiding. Is Rey's parentage is perfect.
I have something to say about that.
Yeah.
I agree that it's perfect. I don't understand why everybody is taking what Kylo Ren said at face value, because he had every reason to lie to her because he was trying to manipulate her in that moment. And I might have been projecting stuff, but into Adam Driver's performance, which we haven't discussed in BTW. I love Adam Driver in this movie. I think he's fucking fantastic.
I did not care for him in The Force Awakens. He was actually the thing that I was kind of hoping that they would drop from the movies because I thought he was like a shitty. He was like all the shitty parts of Luke and Anakin from the prequels. It was just whiny and like, I'm mad at everything. And then this one, it was like, oh shit, okay, no, this works.
Yeah, I agree that he was whiny and annoying, but that worked for me. I loved him in The Force Awakens, but in this he got to do more, and I think his performance is really subtle and quite amazing.
The thing is I don't think the character changed between the two movies. I think that the director changed between the two movies and the way that gets expressed. And honestly, the writing changed, and I think it was significantly better because it's not a different character, and I don't think he's playing him that much differently. It's just what he has to do is like a more effective, better iteration of that.
Yes, but I completely agree with.
I do think that it would be a mistake to walk that back. I think it's stronger for her to have that sort of like she's not connected to any of it, and she doesn't have, as he says, she has no role in this.
Completely agree.
Which I think is a stronger indication, because I think it was important that what ends up happening in the movie, where there's like 20 rebels left or something like that. The rebellion is reduced to like 20 people. And the other thing that this fixed, that Force Awakens, I'm still annoyed about Force Awakens, is in the Force Awakens, I have no idea what the political layout is. Like there's the Republic, and then there's the First Order, and then there's the Resistance, and I'm like, but the Resistance is connected to the Republic. What are they resisting? Is the First Order like a separate? Like I have no idea what it is, and it's not like it's like super complicated. It's just lazy. It's just, well, there's our version of the Empire, and then they also won, so there's also the Republic. But then we have to have a Resistance. I'm like, why wasn't the Resistance just the Republic Army? In the Force Awakens, and then now they're the Resistance.
I think that The Last Jedi did a good job over The Force Awakens of laying out the political landscape better without getting into overly wonky details the way the prequels did. But I want to go back to the race parentage thing, because I just want to be clear. I 100% agree that I want Rey's parents to not be Skywalkers and to be like everyday people, and she's some random person in the universe. I 100% think that's good and want it to be true. My little nitpicky point is I don't understand why people are taking Kylo Ren's word for that in that moment, when he had every reason to say the thing that he thinks she doesn't want to hear. I understand that everything else he told her was technically true, and that's why, in theory, we could trust him, but I don't think Kylo Ren is a trustworthy character. I think the way he said that line, it may be that what I was getting was just he knows this is going to hurt her, and he's, having feelings about that part, and that's what it's coming from. But I think it also could be that he was making it up. I think it's also possible that Kylo Ren was lying to her, and it's also true that her parents are nobodies. It's just that Kylo Ren didn't know that, or they're different nobodies than the way Kylo Ren.
I think that one of the things that's consistent about that character is he's not dishonest.
Okay, maybe.
Like he's, in fact, and I think that's one of the things that is sort of like just going back to what we get in this, which is essentially the origin of Kylo Ren in flashbacks, is the thing that drove him to being who he is was a betrayal, and was essentially like not being trusted in a lie. And I don't think he's lied in the movies at all.
I think Louisa, my sister, I think said a similar thing when I was having this conversation with her yesterday.
Which is another thing about Vader too. The villain, the the arch villain, the Snokes and the Sidiouses or the Palpatines, they lie or they twist the truth. But the sympathetic
redeemable
villain,
ones.
yeah, they are honest about it. If they're not honest with themselves about certain things, or maybe their reactions to certain things. I think actually one of the things that marks Vader as he comes through Anakin in the first in the prequel movies, and then into the original movies, is that, I mean, it's part of the story.
I know.
So
I know. I just couldn't help it.
Is that they don't have the emotional maturity to see to really embrace. In fact, that whole line of men, because I think it comes down to Luke too, and the mistake that Luke makes in the movie is they can't embrace gray areas.
Yeah.
That there is, it's positive or negative, and so and that's where ultimately they fail. Is they can't embrace a gray area. If Luke had just been like, you know what, okay, so you're kind of dark, and that kind of sucks, but let's work shit out, instead of thinking, hey, maybe I should kill this kid. For half a second, then we wouldn't have these problems.
I love that plot development, that's the betrayal, because it allows us to hold on to our positive feelings about Luke. It's not that Luke actually tried to kill Kylo Ren. Mm-hmm. It's that he had that moment of failure. Mm-hmm. That is a very human kind of thing to worry about and feel tremendously guilty about. But it happened that in that moment, Kylo Ren happened to wake up, or Ben Solo at that point, I guess, wake up and be like, holy shit, so my uncle's about to murder me. And he's not wrong. It's not like, it's all a big misunderstanding. Like, and Luke's like, nah, but I changed my mind. Why should Kylo Ren believe that? He saw something and he wasn't wrong about what he saw. And, I mean, that doesn't make Kylo Ren really sympathetic to me, because, frankly, he still killed Han Solo. Like, that's an unforgivable offense. For me, Han Solo was your dad, you little shit, and, like, you killed him. Like, makes me pretty mad. But
his dad, who abandoned him to his uncle, who tried to kill him.
He loved him, though. And his
loved him enough to abandon him to an uncle who tried to kill him. His
uncle didn't try to kill him, though, is the thing.
But as far as he knows, that's what happened.
Yes, I understand that, but still. He could take a minute.
He was betrayed by the previous generation, and now he is trying to eradicate it.
Oh, I believe it. I'm just, he's also like kind of a Trump analog, right? In a way, except that's like way unfair to Kylo Ren. Yeah. Because Kylo Ren is way more compelling than Donald Trump. And that's saying something about the man who killed Han Solo. But it's that the like slash and burn, not of Trump himself, but about like some of the people who allowed him to ascend to power, who are just like, well, everything sucks, let's just burn it all down.
Yeah.
That impulse is like very much Kylo Ren's thing, and what Kylo Ren is trying to seduce Rey with, about like, come on, this all fucking like.
Well, I think one of the things that differentiates him a little bit is that he, from the last two trilogies, is that he doesn't actually want to rule the galaxy. He just wants to wipe out the existing power structures. I don't think in the end...
He kind of wants to rule the galaxy.
He says he does.
Doesn't have a vision of what that is.
Yeah, which is why I don't think he actually wants to do it. He says he wants to do it. He thinks he wants to do it, but really what he wants to do is wipe out the existing power structures. Otherwise, like, that's part of why he kills Snoke. He never was going to stick with that guy.
I mean, this is all similar to the Trump stuff. Like, Trump doesn't really want to rule anything either. He's just like, they said I can't do it. So, like, he's purely reactionary, right?
Yeah,
like,
well, he's an idiot.
Yeah, but, again, Disney ruined Star Wars by making it political, because, that's what Disney does.
Yeah.
But
well,
I do
I'm
like
sorry.
the politics
I believe it's now referred to as our overlords, the great Disney. All hail Mouse.
All hail Mouse.
All hail Mouse.
But we're going to get to have X-Men in movies with Spider-Man now.
I mean, I'm a giant Marvel nerd, and I'm like, yes, I would like to see those things come together. But I'm also like, yeah, just somebody who's a little bit afraid of how much consolidation there is. So,
Yeah, that's my... Agree. I have no problem with an X-Men Spider-Man movie. I am not as big a Marvel nerd as you are, but I enjoy the Marvel movies very much. I would like that too. It is not worth what's happening to our media companies.
Mm-hmm.
The consolidation and the monopolies that we are getting. It's very, very bad. Very bad.
I mean, on one level, I mean, you can talk about like the restriction of just media content that goes out, but it's really like there's other factors like how it's going to impact the economy. It means less jobs. It
Mhm.
means less jobs immediately, and it means less jobs long term too. Because
Well-
you don't need that many people to make movies if you're not making as many movies. You don't need as many executive positions, and executive positions do create other jobs because you need support for them. You need offices for them, which employ janitors, which employ coffee cart people, which employ other sycophants and shit like that. So,
Agreed. We're done with our Star Wars section, aren't we?
yeah, we should be done with our Star Wars session. We've been talking about
this
it
is
for a long
safe,
time.
everybody. We're no more Star Wars spoilers. We're going to talk
Exactly.
about some other business now about how everything's
Exactly.
terrible. But Santa's coming.
Is
Santa's
Santa
coming.
coming? Is he going to bring you a list of your favorite movies of the year?
I think he is.
And what were your favorite movies this year?
I think my favorite movie of the year, like a lot of people, was Get Out. We're gonna, by now there probably, or if not by now, there soon will be lists published on the 4 Mile Circus blog of both my and Sean's favorite movies. So it's possible, there might be some slight changes from what we're gonna discuss today, but we're gonna discuss the bulk of it. We had some of the same favorite movies.
We did. I also liked Get Out. I don't know what was my favorite movie this year. Maybe it was Get Out. Maybe it was, I don't know, something else.
On balance, I gotta give it to Get Out because it just hit that perfect sweet spot of like this is the kind of movie I need to be seeing.
Sure.
There were some other very strong movies as well. And there's been a lot of talk about Get Out, and we've talked about it before, so we can talk about some of the ones that have been discussed less. We both also like The Lure. The Lure made both of our lists, which is
a good movie.
Cannibal Mermaid musical.
Yeah.
Polish,
Solid.
right?
I think Polish, yeah.
Yeah, everybody who hasn't, it's streaming now, so you should watch that. We both liked that. We both also loved the dual best fucking Marvel movies maybe ever, Thor Ragnarok and Spider-Man Homecoming, which I stand for both of those movies very hard. And maintain that the people complaining, this is not a spoiler, the people complaining about the jokes in The Last Jedi now are just the new people complaining about the jokes in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, there's some people who think that you can't have jokes in movies. And I'll be somebody who sometimes complains about jokes in certain things. Like I complain about jokes in like the Avengers, but that's because I think the jokes undercut the actually dramatic moments, which didn't happen in any of the movies we just mentioned. I think that like you can't. I don't think it's appropriate to like be like, here's a really heavy moment with the character that we were building up to kill off, and then like 2 scenes later somebody makes a joke. Like you gotta hold off a little bit.
Right. Whereas in like Thor and The Last Jedi and Spider-Man Homecoming, it enhances what's happening.
Yeah.
And I mean,
And you need jokes for Spider-Man. Spider-Man has to have jokes.
Yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming was so funny and touching.
Yeah.
I need to watch it again. I've only seen it once, but when I watched it, I was like, this is like the best movie of the year other than Get Out. And The Last Jedi, which The Last Jedi is also on my list. Is that on your list?
I don't know.
You're not sure.
I'm kind of at the point where I'm like, I've made my list. I liked it a lot. I'd have to think about it. So, I mean, it's only been a week since I've seen it because I saw it on December 17th and it's December 24th when we're waiting for Santa Claus.
And I for example, saw The Shape of Water on the evening of December 17th. So I just haven't had enough time to think about that yet to figure out whether that's going to be on my list or not.
That's Guillermo del Toro, right?
Yes.
See, I like some of his movies, but I oftentimes also feel like there's something, I end up being a little unsatisfied. Like there's something missing from a lot of his movies. Because it's good and he's got great vision for a lot of stuff, but then it just feels like there's like a piece missing, and I don't know what it is sometimes.
I feel that way sometimes, but also like Pan's Labyrinth is kind of one of my favorite movies.
That's one of the ones that I watched it and I enjoyed it, but I always felt like I don't know what it is, but I always feel like there's like a piece missing.
Maybe the piece is you don't care enough about the rise of fascism in Spain, which I care about a lot. So that like, I'm good with fucking Pan's Labyrinth. That's more than enough for me to like dramatize that through this beautifully done story.
Okay, because that's not remotely what I was talking about, but thank you for making me seem like an insensitive asshole.
Well,
That was a totally appropriate.
That's what I'm here for.
Sidecar for that. Yeah.
I'm just.
What other shitty movies did you like this year?
Are you actually mad?
I'm not like super mad about it, but that was sort of like a.
It wasn't a dig at you. I was explaining what it is that like puts that movie over the top for me.
All right.
I was saying it in a mean way, but I wasn't serious that you don't care about fascism in Spain. We can cut that part out of the podcast.
No, we don't have to cut anything out.
I'm not trying to make you look bad.
I'm not like actually mad about it, but it was just sort of like, okay, that's not what I'm talking about.
Well, you were saying there's something missing, and I don't know what it is, but there's something missing.
It's a story. It's the story structure wise.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I'm talking about.
Okay. You did not specify.
Also, I'm totally supportive of fascism in Spain. Fuck you.
It's not what I was saying.
I'm just kidding.
It's an important. I have a special interest in films that deal with fascism, especially that are historically accurate in a lot of ways that film was. So
Sure.
I don't care as much about certain story elements in a film like Pan's Labyrinth.
Sure.
Is what I'm saying.
Sure.
I can kind of understand how you could feel like the story in and of itself wasn't satisfying, but I'm not watching it for the story.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. You feel better now?
And so that was the show. No, it's not just that movie. It's a couple of them that I feel like
I felt that way about Crimson Peak.
Oh, Crimson Peak, I'm annoyed by for other reasons, though.
Yeah, well, in any event,
edited like a TV movie.
I can't say anything about The Shape of Water because it just hasn't been long enough since I watched it.
Since you've seen it,
but a lot of people really like it, so that seems like it might be a possible thing. I mean, and I'm not even going to get to see Michael Haneke's new movie, because I haven't seen it yet, even though it came out 2 days ago on December 22nd. But like, that's I mean, you know my feelings about him.
Yeah, he's great.
He's my fave. I'm big Haneke fangirl. And so it's hard for me to think about a best of 2017 list when I haven't even seen that yet. I haven't seen like Tragedy Girls, which everybody loved. I haven't seen Wonderstruck, which is, didn't look that great to me, to be honest, but Todd Haynes is one of my favorite directors. So
I haven't seen I, Tonya yet, and I want to see that. And that looks
oh my God,
great.
Me too. I want to see I, Tonya a lot.
Is that out yet? No,
I think it comes out. I mean, yes, it's out.
Yeah.
It came out, I think, like Christmas weekend.
Oh, okay, there you go.
I think is when it came out.
I might go see that one.
If you want company, let me know, because I'm very amped to see I, Tonya. I liked Raw a lot this year, which you didn't see. You didn't see Keddy.
No.
Those were very good. You didn't. One of Us is a documentary by the people who made Jesus Camp.
Oh, okay.
You might like that. That's about
probably like it.
People leaving the Hasidic community in New York City.
Right. It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. It's a Netflix doc. Yeah. It's very good. It'll make you angry.
We both like Colossal. I lean towards Colossal as being my favorite of the year.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Well, I really like Vigilando, and I like that aesthetic of here's a really, really big concept, but I'm going to tell it with a really, really small story. Yeah. So
I loved Colossal. Yeah. Saw it twice. That's one of the ones.
And we got to meet him at the second time we saw it.
You did.
You met him. He talked to you. We talked about Star Wars, remember? And he said the Star Wars movie he would make would be the one where Han Solo broke his leg because that's what happened to.
I wasn't really part of that conversation. I was off the side, taking a picture.
No. He was saying as he was leaving. He was saying, "Oh, hey, no," and he's and
oh yeah, that's right.
We were all like, "Oh," and he was like, "Oh, nobody wants to see me make a Star Wars movie." And we're like, "We would watch you make a Star Wars movie." And it's like, "No, you remember what happened to Harrison Ford when he broke his leg?" We're like, "Yeah, I would just make a movie about that." And he'd just be walking around the whole time with his leg broken. And we're all like, "I would watch that movie, dude. Just make that fucking movie."
I agree. That's right. That did happen. That was good. You've got some stuff on your list that I also liked a lot and almost was on my list, like Logan. I loved Logan. It just there was a lot of good stuff this year.
Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff this year.
I liked more.
I like Logan because I think it's a sign along with Thor of a trend for probably the next 3 or 4 years of superhero movies, which still dominate the landscape right now. in that there's going to be an increase of superhero movies where there's actual consequences, where characters will die. I mean, we just see that in Thor. Most of the characters from the other Thor movies are dead or just gone. So, and he like loses his eye and shit like that. So
yeah, I was happy about that. Also, like, it's part of the trend of letting directors make a distinct movie that has
yeah,
a distinct aesthetic and point of view that like works
yeah,
with the series, but also is like not interchangeable.
Yeah.
Much like Thor Ragnarok and to a lesser degree Spider-Man Homecoming, I would
Yeah.
say, and that's a great trend.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have Wonder Woman on there, and I have to say Wonder Woman for me is one of the like way overrated films of the year. Like, I enjoyed it. I think it's far and away the best DC movie, and probably since The Dark Knight.
Batman Returns.
I mean, I'd be down with that argument. Like, that was the last time I like loved Batman movies, was the Tim Burton years when Tim Burton was making good movies.
It's the only watchable DC movie since Batman and Robin.
Well, I didn't like Batman and Robin.
Nobody liked Batman and Robin. Don't watch Batman and Robin. It's a terrible movie, but it's delightful.
I like The Dark Knight, though. I do like The Dark Knight. Not as big a fan of the other two, but I like The Dark Knight. And Wonder Woman I enjoyed, and I thought Patty Jenkins did a heroic job. I think she had a lot she was working against. Such as having to fight to keep the no man's land scene, which is the best scene in the fucking movie.
Yeah, that's where the scene. That's the scene where the movie comes alive.
Yeah, but I don't think I mean, I thought she did a great job, and I think in contrast to everything else DC has done for years and years and years, it looks great. But I don't think it's very good. I think it's like got a lot of crappiness about it. I'll link it in the show notes. There's that dialogue between Sana Baldwin and Valerie Complex that basically runs down like most of my criticisms of the film that we can link for people rather than me taking up time with it now. But
it's not a perfect movie, but it's on par with it's on par with your average Marvel movie. Which is not what I could say about Man of Steel, and I skipped the one after that.
Yeah, but is that good enough
Batman
to be on a? I mean, you could have whatever
I enjoy.
you want on your list, I don't
this is like
with
what
that.
I enjoyed and I liked, and there are parts of it that I appreciated. It doesn't have to be a perfect movie for me to like it and appreciate it for what it is. I'm a comic book nerd too, so seeing Wonder Woman and The Thing and actually having a DC movie that I could watch, because I sure as shit didn't go and see Justice League.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I might see it when it's available for me to watch on one of the services I already pay for.
Oh, I'll watch it, and I'll probably live tweet it. Like
you actually bothered to watch Batman versus Superman.
I sure did.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
I sure did. Never getting that 12 days of my life back.
You haven't seen The Babysitter. I think you get a kick out of parts of The Babysitter.
Oh, yeah. No, it's on my list, actually, of like 2017 films to try to watch. Yeah. I almost watched it last night, but instead I watched Mudbound, which is another film on my list that, Sean, you haven't seen, but I highly, highly recommend it. And I will say to anybody at home listening that Mudbound is a film that when I first started it, I almost turned it off because it was like 11 o'clock at night, and other Sean and I were like, let's watch a movie. What are we going to watch? Should we watch the, season finale of Mr. Robot? Oh, we really want to watch that, but also we really want to watch a movie, and let's start something. Oh, this is, fucking 2.5 hours long. Maybe it's a little late to start this. Nah, let's just do it. We both want to watch it. And then it starts, and it's like these two white dudes in like 1945 in Alabama, like arguing about some land, and there's like a voiceover, and I was like, I can't watch 2.5 hours of this right now. Maybe it's a great movie. I love Dee Reese. Like, the other films of hers I've seen, I liked a lot, so I'm sure it's worth watching, but I don't know. But once it got going, it actually did not feel as long as it is. It when it was over, I was like, that felt like that was like 90 minutes. Because the characterization is so good. There is so much about this movie that is so good and special and different from other movies, and I think it's an important film for people to see today in terms of like some of what we were talking about before we started recording about how a lot of films that take place in the 1940s kind of focus on some of the more modern and cosmopolitan and shiny, happy, and progressive aspects of the era, right? Like some of the positive things that happened in the United States related to World War II. Not that I'm trying to be like, yay, war economy and stuff like that. But, you know, there were some modernizing things related that...
Well, war economy back then, what I don't like is, so I remember having conversations back when I used to work for a certain Democratic Party in a certain state called Alaska. And the hawkish Democrats who were like, no, war's good for the economy. So, like, we should be okay with Iraq. And I was just like, no. And they're like, no, but it's good. It's like I'm, you know, this is good for the economy. Wasn't very fucking good for the economy.
No, it really wasn't, was it?
No, I don't like that, and I don't like it as a justification. And the only time people point to it is for World War. Look what it did in World War II. Yeah, look what it did in Vietnam.
Yeah, no, agreed. But I also am not the type of person who's going to be rah-rah about what it did in World War II. That's not how I see things.
Sure.
But that said, like, this film is about, like, people in rural Alabama in the mid-40s trying to farm some, like, super muddy land, and there's a lot of real ugly racism around, and they do a subtle job of showing the patriarchal family structures of the time. And it's not this, like, modern liberated ladies in the workforce because, you know, and also, like, you know, black people serving in the military, so racism is better now. You know, it's about some of the conflicts between, like, characters who've maybe been in other situations and see how there are pockets of modernization happening and then have to, like, be in this, like, really oppressive environment. And it does a good job of not making the characters in that context, like, exactly like people would be today to make them relatable. Like sometimes happens where people in old-timey movies are too psychologically modern. I thought they did a good job of establishing the psychologies of, you know, these two the film's about, like, these two different families working this piece of land, a white family and a black family, and there are a lot of characters that get developed very, very well, and it made me empathetic to character psychologies that are very different from what is familiar to me today. And I thought they did a great job of that. And I think it's an important movie, and we're hearing a sound that I don't know what it is. Is it Heath? Okay. In any event, Mudbound, Dee Reese, really excellent film. Not an easy film. There's some, like, pretty upsetting violence and stuff in it. It's not an easy watch, but it's well worth it and very relevant to the state of our nation today in terms of race and gender and economy and things. And I think it's important for people to know history and how it's not really in the past. It's right here, right now. This movie's good for that.
I like Batman and Bill, which is about Bill Finger, who got screwed over by Bob Kane for credit for creating Batman.
I've heard some good things about that. I have not seen it, but I might watch that.
He might have been gay. And he died alone in a New York apartment, having only gotten one written credit for writing Batman for one episode of the 60s TV series. So
that sounds good. Is there anything on my list you want to pick apart the way I picked apart Wonder Woman on your list?
You didn't really pick it apart that much. I haven't watched John Wick.
John Wick 2. John Wick Chapter 2.
No, I've seen John Wick. I haven't watched John Wick Chapter 2.
Yeah, John Wick Chapter 2 might end up bumped from my list, but I did like it a lot. It might end up bumped for other things.
No, not really. I liked Lady Bird.
I liked it too. I didn't love it. I thought it was solid, but I didn't love it.
It just felt like that time to me, so it felt like what I've been saying to a few people is it kind of felt like the first time I've seen a movie about high school that felt like my time in high school, even though it's slightly after that.
Mhm.
And it slightly has the backdrop of 9/11, even though 9/11 happened right after I ended high school. It just felt like that time a little. I'm not entirely happy that it made me feel something about Crash Into Me because it's a bad song. But
That song
but it
plays a
felt
role in the film,
right
yeah.
at the time. Like it felt like right for like, okay, yeah, that would be the song. That would be the song that they would have that moment about.
It was a well done film.
Yeah, it was a well made film. Felt like something. I think it was. I think it was a strong story about a simple. Yeah, it was about a simple idea, but then like sort of expands and has a little bit more to it. But and one of the things that I've been commenting on about it, and one of the reasons I recommend it to some people is it's about something that we've seen a movie about like a dozen times, 100 times, thousands of times. Relationships between parents and children, except for it's never like overly melodramatic about it. It tends to be like, oh, we're having a fight. Oh, but here's a thing. And then they're suddenly not having a fight anymore, which felt very natural to me in a way that like the melodrama of some things tends not to.
Yeah, well, there aren't a lot of subtle, realistic films centered around the relationships between mothers and daughters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we have a lot more of a range of films about like relationships between fathers and sons, which has driven a great number of our most prolific and rich filmmakers' careers. Or Steven Spielberg's entire career.
Yeah.
And a lot of other of the men who make films, one of the things they like to explore is their relationships with their dads. Also, sometimes their relationships with their moms, sometimes in less loving ways. But we haven't had as many films by women, period. So we, don't have as many films from women's perspectives about relationships between mothers and daughters. And this one, it's not that I related to the specifics very much, but it felt very real to me. And I appreciate that. I thought that was very well done.
Mm-hmm. Do you watch TV?
Sometimes, yeah, I do. I do watch TV.
I thought so. Do you like any television?
I do. I do like a lot of television. I like some television you didn't watch, like Mr. Robot.
I'll get around to. I feel like what's going to happen with Mr. Robot is it's going to end, and that is when I will marathon the whole thing.
Yeah, that might be good. It's the show that I'm most excited about and most scared about. I don't want to spoil anything for you, so I'm not going to say specifics, but the character of White Rose is a character that I'm really hope they do justice by. I'll just put it.
Is she also a robot? Like Mr. Robot?
No spoilers.
Okay.
No Yes, Sean Mannion's idea about what Mr. Robot is.
He's a robot, right?
Christian Slater plays a robot, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But it's a show that I'm excited and worried about. There are characters who fall into a lot of tropes, but are also doing interesting things with the tropes, and depending on how things pan out, it could end up being an offensive disappointment or something very groundbreaking and exciting. And it's hard to know at this point in the saga which way it's going to go. Regardless of that, there's a lot of stuff on a formal level that's just great. And I love the storytelling structure. I love the cinematography. I love the performances. It's the fucking music choices are like the score. Like it's a wonderfully crafted show.
We don't really have anything in common on our list except for Glow.
Glow and Handmaid's Tale, right? We both had Handmaid's Tale.
Did I? Yes, I did. So Glow and Handmaid's Tale.
Glow almost didn't make my list.
Me too. But I really enjoyed it.
I really enjoyed it too, but I'm really not okay with the way
racist stuff.
Yeah, well, the way the show glosses over the racist stuff specifically. I don't have a problem with them having it in there. It's true to the story of Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling that there were ladies playing like horrific racist caricatures.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying don't include that. But I felt like Mark Maron's character's little speech about how, like, we're selling the right wing's bigotry right back to them and having a laugh at their expense. It's like, this sounds to me like 4chan Donald Trump supporter logic of people who don't really know what they believe. Or will,
I mean, that seems pretty accurate.
And it would be fine with me if that, I totally buy that, and I want to clarify, I completely buy that is Mark Maron's character's feelings and what he would say. I completely buy that. What bothers me is that it felt to me like him saying that carried some sort of authoritative weight in the show in terms of making the audience feel okay about what they're seeing, because it doesn't really come up all that much after that as a problem. It's just
I think they were just like, okay, that's a thing. Let's move on.
Yeah, and if next season they address that more, I'll be very happy. But this is Genji Cohen, and
they're not going to do
she
it.
sucks on that, frankly. She's, we don't need writers of color in the writer's room. Orange is the New Black is doing a great job with all white writers. No, you're not. And so that's a problem for me.
Uh-huh.
And that was enough to almost knock it off, even though I enjoyed it a lot.
See, my problem is, well, one, Mark Maron in general.
And I like him on that show, though.
I do like him on that show, but what I don't
really
like is I'm enjoying a show, and then suddenly there's Mark Maron's ass in my face. And I'm fine with I'm fine with man ass. You want to put a lot of man ass, and you want to put dicks in your show. I'm fine with that. I'm already tolerating the presence of Mark Maron, although appreciating that he also looks like 80s Stan Lee. So, like Stan Lee in the 1980s, not 80-year-old Stan Lee, although maybe that ass looks like 80-year-old Stan Lee. I don't know. But yeah, just like, okay, I'm tolerating Mark Maron's presence. He annoys me. I know I'm in a minority of people who is annoyed by him, even though it's not necessarily in this room a minority of people.
Yeah, no.
But
definitely not.
I'm already tolerating him. Just suddenly his ass in my face was not. I was like, well, okay.
That's fair.
And that's pretty late in the season, but still.
It's still, that's a lot. That's a lot to ask of your audience.
It's a lot to ask.
Santa wouldn't ask us.
Santa would not ask me to look at Mark Maron's ass.
I don't think I hope Santa doesn't bring you Mark Maron's ass for Christmas, Sean.
All I want for Christmas is Mark Maron's ass. Mark Maron's ass.
That should be our holiday card. Next year, did you not watch BoJack Horseman this year?
I hadn't gotten around to it, and then I forgot it. I forgot they had a new season.
Okay, so it's not that you rejected it from your list; you just haven't seen it.
No, I just hadn't gotten around to it, and then I kept forgetting that it had a new season.
It's so good.
They just added season 4 of *Halt and Catch Fire*, and so now I'm on that right now. To Netflix.
Last night, before we watched Mudbound, I did say we could start *Halt and Catch Fire*.
Oh my god!
Because I want to watch *Halt and Catch Fire*. I haven't seen it. There were a couple.
Although
things...
I'm just gonna warn you, you're gonna have an issue with how a couple of points where with Lee Pace's character, what they do with him.
Okay.
A couple of times.
Good to know. There were a couple things that were on your list that almost made mine. Like Legion didn't make my list, but there was a lot I loved about Legion. Legion was a notable show of the year for me. You have Marvel's Runaways on your list, which I haven't watched yet, but I'm very excited for.
It's solid. I mean, it's not really following the comic, which is kind of nice, because not that I'm like hardcore into the comic, but like I remember how the comic goes, and like I'm feeling like at first I was like, oh, is this just going to pan out like that? Oh, nope, they're kind of doing their own thing. So it feels a little bit like I don't know exactly what's coming. I know some things about some character stuff, but I also don't feel like I know exactly what's coming, which is what I was afraid of about this show. Because I think a lot of people, because they've been talking about, a lot of fans have been talking about, oh, I want a show out of this, because the writers for the book are oftentimes television writers. I think Brian K. Vaughan started it. He was a writer on Lost and a lot of other things, and then Joss Whedon wrote it for a little while. So people are like, "Oh, I really want to see."
I read some of the Joss Whedon Runaways stuff. Yeah. Actually, that's the stuff I've read is his stuff.
And I don't remember where the line is between them, but like which one wrote what stuff. But like, I don't feel like I know what the end game is, having known what happens in the initial storyline and then what happens later. So I'm pretty happy about that. They've changed enough where I feel like, ooh, what's going to happen? And the teen drama stuff is fun. It's weird It's a little bit weird because, it's on Hulu. It's a Hulu exclusive show, which is fine, great, whatever. But it's a little weird because it's sponsored by the city of Los Angeles.
What?
Yeah. So they keep having these these little commercials where the actors are talking about Los Angeles. So, and I'm like, I've never seen it where the city was one of the sponsors, but I kind of think that's a little cool. So, where I don't know.
Okay.
So anyway, but yeah, and I didn't see. I want to watch The Problem with Apu.
Yeah, you should watch that. That's great.
So you're counting it as TV as opposed to a movie.
Yeah, because it was direct to TV. I debated that, but because it's only 42 minutes long.
Okay.
It's not a feature length doc, so I
Gotcha.
counted it as TV, and I thought it was so good that I wanted to mention it. And
Master of None didn't make my list. I liked it, but it didn't make. I mean, it's very nicely done, but yeah.
I loved the Thanksgiving episode so much.
Yeah, the Thanksgiving episode was pretty great.
That was what it. If it weren't for the Thanksgiving episode, it might not have made my list. It would have made my list in a weaker year for the kind of TV I like. But I think I like the show a lot. I like the way it's done. I like the way it's shot. I like that it's nice.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of TV that's kind of nice. People can read my post for what I have to say about American Horror Story because I can't get started about that because I won't stop. I recommend American Vandal.
That's the one about the dicks.
Yes.
Yeah.
I laughed. I needed to laugh, and I laughed a lot.
Well, if you want to laugh, you should watch Future Man. Also, it's got Glenn Headley in it.
I like Glenn Headley.
Who we lost this year, which is sad.
Yeah,
so it's
it
the
is
last
sad.
thing.
Maybe I will watch Future Man.
It's charming, but also it's a little gross, but it just kind of rolls very quickly over its gross humor into the next thing, so that it's not dwelling on it and forcing. It's not and now I'll just stare at this for a minute. It's just rolling forward to the next thing, and I was kind of okay. I mean, it is a Seth Green, Evan Goldberg thing, so it's a little crass and stuff, but it's fun.
You also had the crossover Crisis on Earth X
punching
on your
Nazis.
List. Yeah, which
and not even backing down from that. They're Nazis. It's not like Captain America, the movie, where they're well, they're Hydra. It's just there's a planet of Nazis and they're trying to invade, or an alternate universe where everybody's a Nazi.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
Nazi Supergirl, Nazi Green Arrow, Nazi Flash, and a bunch of other characters, and they try to invade, and we're going to punch Nazis. Lots of Nazi punching.
Yeah, I want to watch that. Also, you have the Santa Clarita Diet on your list, which I watched the first episode, and I totally liked it. The main reason I haven't watched more is just that, usually I watch TV while I'm eating dinner, and that's not a great show to watch while you're eating dinner. And it's I didn't love it so much. American Horror Story is also not a great show to watch while you're eating dinner, but because I'm me, despite its many, many problems, everybody listening, just so you know, I'm aware that American Horror Story is, in many respects, a very bad show.
I'm sure everybody's stopping writing their emails to you right now. Oh, actually, but I do have a thing about comments that'll be coming that I'm going to talk about at the end after we talk about TV. Don't let me forget. It's very special. You're going to really love this.
Okay, great. I also want to watch Star Trek Discovery, which is on your list. One thing that I'm not going to be watching ever is the Orville, and I'm not going to lie, I'm a little upset just to see the name Seth MacFarlane on any kind of best list. We've talked about this show. I understand why you like it. Not arguing whether or not you should like it, just saying I can't help but recoil seeing that name under the word best or favorite or anything positive at all.
Okay.
But so
I mean, I think one thing for him as a writer and television maker is he had one success that then there is a certain degree to which he only got to keep making that same thing.
And
he doesn't just do that thing.
I don't care, though. I know he also releases fucking albums of lounge music. I don't want to hear that either.
He does?
Yeah.
did he do? When did he
Yeah,
do that?
like 3 years ago, like Seth MacFarlane sings Tony Bennett or some
Yeah.
crap. I mean, I hate him. I'm sorry.
Okay.
He did that fucking the Oscars. Like, I'm not interested in what else he does. He did such a bad job hosting the Oscars that I Saw Your Boobs song was so fucked up that I don't care what he does.
Oh, see,
Life's
I don't
short.
pay attention to that stuff, so I don't, like, they're like, oh, Seth MacFarlane, like, I'm not super into, like, the comedy stuff that he does. Like, some of it, like, I've enjoyed from time to time. I started falling into American Dad because it got so fucking weird. It wasn't even the humor. It was just, I just wanted to see what kind of weird thing that they were going to do.
I mean, look,
And,
again, I
yeah.
have American Horror Story on my best TV of the year list.
Yeah.
I'm not judging what you watch. I'm just saying, like, I hate that dude. And
Alright.
I don't like Family Guy and I don't like American Dad. And I've seen them both a lot.
Yeah.
And the absurdist aspects, I can understand liking, but there's too much else going on that's so viscerally, like, ugh,
Mm-hmm.
why? That it's not.
Yeah,
not worth-
no,
I have a
I
lot
agree.
of friends who like those shows, and I'm not. You
Yeah.
know, it's okay.
I'm not saying you have to like any of it.
Yes, you are. Why are you telling me that I have to like Seth MacFarlane?
I don't
Why
care
would you
if
do
you like
that?
Seth MacFarlane. I just like this show because it's this. I have
Why are
two
you
Star
forcing
Trek
me to
shows.
watch the Orville? Why are you, putting a DVD, because somehow DVDs of that exist now on December 24th into the player? And
Because Santa brought them for you, Nicole.
why is my head in like a Clockwork Orange contraption, and now I can't shut my eyes, and I have to watch like the best of Seth MacFarlane now?
Okay, so do you want to hear about the comments thing that I was going to tell you about?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
so a certain friend of the show
Mhm.
wrote a certain article recently that upset a certain fandom.
Oh,
Let's
a
just
certain
call
friend
it
of the show that maybe has been mentioned already on this episode wrote an
uh,
article about
a certain-
host.
oh no, I'm sorry. His name is Post Malone, and if those bitches want to come for me, they can come. So apparently, they found the interview we did with Sean
Oh God,
on
this is the
YouTube.
stuff he's not telling me about because he knows it'll upset me. What? Okay, what happened? Do we have a bunch of comments on our
No,
YouTube
we had
channel?
two.
Okay.
One came in like 2 weeks ago, and it was like a link to a YouTube video, and I kind of glanced at it, and
Is
the
it the
title of
YouTube
it-
video the dude did that's like 20 minutes long, just like talking
I
about how
didn't
much
fucking
they hate
watch it.
Sean?
It was kind of that.
I know that some.
I didn't fucking watch it because it's some twit who's like decides that he needs to go and defend like a rich kid, and I don't give a fuck about that. So anyway, some assholes like left a YouTube video, and I clicked it briefly, and I was like, and it was the title of Sean's video, or Sean's article, I think, like the problem with
The
Post
problem
Malone.
with Post Malone.
And
is
so
an article
I
by a
didn't
friend of the show,
really
Sean
look
Severo.
into it very much.
Mhm.
Like I was just like, okay, so they're just linking to probably just linking to something about the issue with
the
Post Malone.
guest and the guest on the episode of the podcast that they're commenting on. It's
Yeah.
related.
It was like a YouTube, and then like 3 or 4 days ago, maybe 5 days
Mhm.
ago, we get a comment that was just fag.
Yep.
And
Yeah, he's been getting a lot of those.
Yeah, which I'm like, I mean, at least come with something.
Well,
That's
the other
just
thing
stupid.
they come with is you're racist.
I mean, I'm
There's
not
a-
going to say that Sean's not racist.
Sean's not going to say Sean's not racist either, but you know
But-
what? But you know what's not racist is Sean's criticism of Post Malone.
Which I haven't read and I don't care about. I don't care about the criticism of him, but I do care about like that being a comment. So I reported the account, which
Thank you.
this little bitch is entire account was just to post that comment
He has a few of those. He has people who started Twitter accounts just to harass him.
because they know that they're in the wrong and that they'll get flagged and they'll get banned from things. And that's what I reported this thing and I deleted it. And then I checked the other one and what the YouTube thing was, and the first words out of this person's mouth, I just read like from like the dumbest journalist ever, this Sean Sterro. I'm like, pause, delete the comment, report. And I'm just like, no, I don't give a shit. Like, really? Is this like
I kind of want Sean to write a piece about it actually, because I think it's interesting to me that he has been publicly doing cultural criticism for years. I mean, for many, many years, but on a fairly large platform for some years now, like he had a column at Forbes before this, and then he did a lot that was pretty high profile with Genius, and like he has a podcast that's not like, you know, Mark Maron well known, but has a lot of listeners, and he,
It's
you
a
know,
thing.
he's been there criticizing shit, and him criticizing Post Malone has gotten him so much more backlash than anything else he's ever done, and it like hasn't stopped. It's been going on for weeks, and it's people like wishing him, it's mostly people calling him a fag and saying you're the real racist, and because why are you dividing people? Hip hop's for everybody, and Post Malone doesn't even wear cornrows anymore. Now he's got braids. That was an actual comment. Somebody
Great.
left.
So the thing is, you know, I understand people get emotional about the things that they like.
Yeah, like their white privilege. That's what's happening here.
Right, but that's not where I'm getting at. People get emotional about the things that they like. They want to defend it. I get that. What I'm not getting is, I still don't know who the fuck Post Malone is. I still don't give a shit. The extent to which I've heard about Post Malone is hearing about this article and that you guys have gotten this blowback from it. And I know hip hop and that whole area is something I don't know much about. I just asked you to make a playlist for me, which I've been listening to, liking a lot of it on Spotify, so I can be a little bit more up to date on at least whether or
90s
not
90s hip hop, because that shit's not up to date. That's like all from the 90s.
That's how out of date I am.
Okay.
But at least like knowing names of things. Like if people say like Dre, I know. Okay, dude does a thing. Or Jay-Z, I know. Dude does a thing. Nas,
well, there's barely any Jay-Z on that playlist.
No.
'cause he's
But
not
what
on
I'm saying is
Spotify.
like if people talk about like hip hop, like a lot of things, I'll be like, okay, yeah, I know who you're talking. Or a lot of music, like I haven't listened to any Justin Bieber, but I'm aware of him. I've only heard Taylor Swift when friend of the show, Jessica, sings it when we go to karaoke.
Hey, friend of the show, Jeanette Sears, also sings it when we go to karaoke.
Okay, friend of the show, Jeanette Sears, former guest Jeanette Sears, also sings it when we do karaoke. But like, I'm aware of a Katy Perry. I'm aware of what's his name, the thrift shop guy.
Macklemore?
I'm aware of that.
Okay.
I enjoy that song.
Okay, that makes one of us.
It was an entertaining song. I don't think it's a good song, but I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's entertaining. I remember going to the thrift store a lot more than I do now. Now I don't want to leave the house, so I just Amazon. But like if people mention these things, I'm like, okay, I know what that is. Post Malone, I was like, is that like, is it basketball player? Is it like, cause you know what it is I was thinking of like Karl Malone, and then I'm like Post, but what is this after what Malone?
Is it a snack mix? Is it a subgenre of dubstep?
Is it a Cheers sequel?
Yeah.
I don't know. And so my entire context for this is apparently he's got a very dedicated, lonely, pathetic, weak-ass bitch fandom that can come for me now. Like, just come at me. And you call me that. I'm going to just ignore you the whole time.
Well, I mean, that's what Sean's been
Exactly.
doing.
I'm not saying that, like, Sean isn't doing that. I'm just saying that, like,
not engaging.
why are they doing this?
Because something about Sean's article, which you have not read, really bothered them.
Yeah, I haven't even read the article.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's because he said things that are true about how whiteness works and whiteness in hip hop. And they're like, but you're white and you do a hip hop thing. So, and it's one of the big things, one of the straw men that people have been yelling at him on every social media platform is like, how can you say white people can't rap, which is not something he ever said. And if you look at Sean used to be a big fucking Eminem stan, not so much anymore, but like Sean has had so many white rappers on his podcast. Sean has arguably had too many white rappers on his podcast. I wish he would write about being a white person trying to be involved with hip hop in an ethical way and like not always succeeding necessarily. There's an inherent tension, I think.
Well, he talked
in
about it
being-
when he talked to us.
Yeah, he did. He talked about it a little bit when he talked to us. There's an inherent tension in being a white person trying to like not be fucked up and be involved in hip hop. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. That doesn't mean, you know, white people can't do hip hop. Like, life is problematic, but try to be a fucking decent person. A lot of white people don't want to hear that they have to try to be a decent person. They're like, but I'm great because I'm me, so I'm great and I can do what I want. Why you hate freedom? I mean,
Why are you contradicting their mommies?
their mommies probably don't like them either.
Yeah, but their mommies tell them they're special. They bring their cookies down to the basement, and they tell them, you're a good boy.
And they listen to the Post Malone song about being a rock star and being friends with Justin Bieber. And they're like, yeah, I know what that's
he did
like.
hip-hop.
He came up because he's like, first of all, this motherfucker's from Syracuse.
No, what I mean is, like, he talks about being a rock star?
That's a thing. I mean, a lot of rappers have, you know, talked about being rock stars. But yeah, he has a song called Rockstar, and it's just about, like, nothing. It's about fucking nothing. Like, all of his lyrics sound like filler lyrics that are like, oh, we'll do something about, like, being a rock star and, like, popping bottles and, you know, we're going to be out all night long. And then they never filled in.
And then we'll find somebody else to just fill it in.
And anyway, I could talk about Post Malone a lot. And it's like, you know, it's just shitty. And like Sean's not complaining about it because frankly, a lot of people get this all the time just for existing on the internet and having an opinion. Like,
oh yeah. Every woman, person of color, woman of color in particular.
Yeah.
Stuff like
and
that.
like Sean's lucky that like he has been able to like have opinions about a lot of things on the internet, and he's gotten blowback before, and he's gotten people saying really nasty things to him before, but it hasn't been this much every day for this long of people just like saying he should like get AIDS and die or whatever because he criticized their, you know, their pet pop star.
Well, I did hear him say that everything else that they love is terrible and that their mother doesn't love them in the first place. So, I mean, just in case they need more stuff to be mad about.
He should have said that. In any event, some of us have to soon think about The Shape of Water that we already saw. But
cool.
Do we have a game?
Yeah,
Santa?
okay.
Are we going to play a game with Santa?
So, no, Santa's not here to play a game. So, we're going to play Porg Trivia. So, question 1. Porg. Is it A, Porg, B, Porg, C, Porg, or D, all of the above, Porg?
What the hell did you just say?
Question 1. Porg. Is the answer A, Porg, B, Porg, C, Porg, D, all of the above, Porg?
See?
I'm sorry, the answer we were looking for is D, all of the above.
It sounded like you were saying poor duh with a D.
Why would I say that about Porg Trivia?
I'm
sorry,
I'll
you're
accept,
making fun of
my defeat. That's fine.
Sorry, I'm making fun of my speech impediment.
No, and you don't even have I have more of a speech impediment than you do.
God, yeah. All right,
Yeah,
so question 2. Ewoks or Porgs? A, Ewoks and Porgs. B, Ewoks. C, Porgs. D, those Crystal Fox things.
I'm going to go with D, but I know that's not the answer you're looking for.
It's A, Ewoks and Porgs.
I know. I knew that's what your answer is, but like, is this your Porg trivia or it's Uncle Sean's
always
Porg?
It's always my
Uncle
trivia.
Sean's Porg trivia. It's not the people's Porg
exactly.
Trivia. I would say Porgs and Vulpteces.
Vulpteces. Is that what it's called?
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's something of that ilk. I'm not anti-Ewok, but I like Porgs and Vulpteces better than Ewoks. Right now.
I mean, I didn't see any Porgs driving any Imperial Walkers. That's all I'm saying.
Not yet.
I mean, it didn't take more than one movie for Ewoks to do that.
Yeah, but the Porgs weren't in The Last Jedi nearly as much as the Ewoks were in Return of the Jedi.
Maybe. I don't know.
Give them time.
All right, so in Porg's trivia, the last question, which I spaced, I just had it. Hold on. It was, so Wicket, from Return of the Jedi.
Who I dressed up as when I was 5 years old for Halloween. I was Wicket specifically.
But you didn't want to be Chewbacca?
No, I didn't. I wanted to be Wicket.
Okay, cool. So Wicket is not a Porg.
No.
What Marvel character did Warwick Davis, who plays Wicket, play in the 80s? Was it Captain America, Doctor Doom, Howard the Duck, or it was Howard the Duck?
It was Howard the Duck, right?
It was Howard the Duck. You know, you haven't gone to Alamo? There's an advertisement before Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be showing Howard the Duck in 70 millimeter.
I would go to that.
I know, right? It's a terrible movie, but it's delightful.
Yeah, I watched it a lot as a kid. I liked it a lot as a kid.
I saw it like once or twice as a kid, and then I saw it more again recently, and I was like, this isn't good, but this is pretty great.
It was on TV a lot. It was on HBO a lot, and I watched it a lot as a kid.
I buy that. But
I think I hear Santa coming.
Do you?
The click, click, click. See, I can tell because it's the click, click. Yeah, it's not murder
not clickety
Santa.
clack. It's shotgun Santa.
It's not
shotgun Santa.
It's not. No, not this time.
All right. So Santa's here, and we ran out of time to talk to him because he took so long. So
we don't get to interview him this time, which apparently now was the premise of this episode. But sure, yeah. But
so anyway, so we're 4 Mile Circus, 4milescircus.com, 4 Mile Circus on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.
Merry Christmas.
And also Happy Hanukkah.
Hanukkah's over, man.
Yeah, but they can still have a happy one next year. It's the season.
Happy Hanukkah, happy
and other
Kwanzaa,
holidays. It doesn't have to be just about Christmas. Okay, Nicole, Christmas, you and your Christmas obsession.
They do call me Nicole Christmas Solomon for a reason.
Exactly, because of how much you hate Post Malone and think all of his fans are a bunch of jackasses. I don't know. I just want to antagonize him now. Like posting random comments on the thing.
Go on Twitter, man.
They're not listening to the podcast. So
they're not listening to they're definitely not listening to the podcast, but they might, if we tag it, they will find it on SoundCloud and they will spam the fuck out of us about how like we're fags and should die of AIDS also, and are also racist against white people.
I mean, that would just take so long, wouldn't it? It just
these people have a lot of time.
They're just waiting for it. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so goodbye.
Bye.
If you like what you heard, please subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or your platform of choice. Please visit us at 4milescircus.com to learn about our other projects and services, and be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 4 Mile Circus.